You're listening to the New Artist Workshop.
What's the Force?
The Force is everywhere. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. And it's strong with you, Ezra.
Hello and welcome back to your favorite podcast. Now that's what I call a franchise. I'm Peter Mancuso.
And I'm Viviana Metzger, and this is a show where Peter and I pick a film franchise and go through every single installment. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Do I have a funny face or something? Why are you laughing?
I was just thinking about Bane and his little detective outfit and his little hat.
Oh, Bane from when he was in Batman and Robin?
I don't know, one of those.
That was a callback to a previous season of ours. And to be clear, we're defining a franchise as a series of films with at least 4 entries. So, Viviana, what are we talking about today?
I don't know. I'm just kidding. Okay, so today we are talking...
Oh, masterful gambit.
So today we are talking about the 2014... Are you going to make fun of me if I say 2014? Because you've done it before.
I'll judge you. I won't make fun of you, but I'll silently judge you.
Okay.
Silently with words, but my body language will be very clear.
Because I have to actively make the conscious choice to say 20 whatever, because I know you'll make fun of me. So, anyways,
We have a very loving relationship.
about the 2014 film Star Wars Rebels, Spark of Rebellion. And this is your one and only spoiler warning, so if you haven't watched the movie, go do that before listening to this episode.
And of course, this technically is not quite a movie. It was like a two-parter opener
parts, yes.
for the show, Star Wars Rebels. And so like it was the first 2 episodes, but they aired back-to-back on one evening. And it's on Letterboxd. So I was like, okay, it counts. And there's actually a couple other like 2-parter Rebels episodes on Letterboxd, but we're not counting those because like you would need... Like, because with this you could just jump in.
Yeah.
Because it's the first one. But, like, if it's, like, the season finale of season 2, it's, like, a lot of stuff, like, has happened, so it's, like, we can't just, like, jump in. The season finale of Star Wars Rebels. So why don't you read the Letterboxd blurb for us?
Playing fast and loose here. The Letterboxd blurb is, Ezra Bridger encounters the Ghost crew and joins them on a mission to free Wookiees from an Imperial Star Destroyer.
Hashtag free the Wookiees! Anywho, okay.
We love Wookiees.
Do you want to hear? Oh, God. I'm
Maybe,
sorry.
But I feel like maybe they might stink. Do they stink?
100% smell.
Oh, like a long-haired dog.
Yes.
Or something, you know?
Well, I mean,
Well, they do have their little
do they take
huts.
baths?
Well, I think if they have video games that they can have showers.
That's also true. But of course, the holiday specials of dubious candidacy. So this is actually the first post-Disney buyout Star Wars thing that we're going to be covering.
Yes.
So technically...
I remember you said, yeah.
Technically, the holiday special is no longer canon.
Oh.
Because before it had some... It was like a certain level of canon. Now it's not even canon at all. And we'll talk about this. We're not going to talk about the holiday special. But we're going to talk about like the new canon, the Disney kind of... model's the wrong word, but kind of just it casts a pall over the whole thing.
I could never forget my main man, Itchy.
Oh, we are excited.
No, that's not Itchy.
I know, that was Grumpy, whatever the dad's name was.
Is that who? Grumpy?
No, I don't know what his name was.
Lumpy?
It may have been Lumpy.
Oh, which one was which?
I don't know. I think, yeah, one of them's Itchy, one was Lumpy.
The boy.
I don't know. Anyway, here's the info. So it was directed by Steward Lee and Stephen G. Lee. I wonder if they're brothers or maybe they're married?
Are they brothers?
I don't know. It was written by Simon Kinberg, who notably is like a very prolific Hollywood screenwriter. Oh. So he wrote, including but not limited to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, X-Men The Last Stand, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, and X-Men Days of Future Past. But as we saw, he would, because we did X-Men as our first season, he wrote a lot of the bad ones, and then he went on to direct Dark Phoenix, which is one of the worst ones. So, you know.
So, good job, Simon, but also Try again.
It was produced by Simon Kinberg as well as Dave Filoni, who of course was the director and showrunner for the Clone Wars CGI show. And he's gonna end up being he's the showrunner for this show, even though he's like not writing and directing this episode. Mm-hmm. Typically, showrunners like they're kind of almost like the conductor. Yeah. Right. Also, Greg Weisman. I don't know who that is, but I don't want to leave him out.
Oh well, it also says that he.
Oh, that's right. He did a couple episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Was that directing? No.
He directed some of the episodes in the first season. Like we talked about. It was on Disney XD, and we'd actually talked about this because when we talked about when the Clone Wars got canceled when Disney bought it, mm-hmm. we were like, oh, it could have gone on Disney XD because that was like the boy, because Disney Channel by like the early 2010s was very much post Hannah Montana. Yeah, was like it was very girly, mm-hmm. I guess. Even though I liked it, I had no shame about it.
Lots of lady shows.
But so basically, once they were ready to do their own Star Wars show, of course Disney XD would be like the obvious place to put it. Is Disney XD still a thing? Like I remember when it launched, it was like a big deal because it was like it's like the new Disney.
I just
channel.
Remember there was that I forgot what it's called, Kings of the Island or something. I don't know.
Kings of the Island.
But it was like this really stupid show where it was like. Mitchell Musso, or I think it was Mitchell Musso, Adam Hicks, and then like I think was it Kyle Massey? No, it was the other. It was the other black guy.
The other one. Well, because on Disney Channel there was only maybe 2 or 3, so
yeah. But I remember like all the like commercials and stuff because it was a new show, and there was that time where Disney was really pushing like. White boy rap, and so Adam Hicks would like rap everything.
Yeah,
like Adam Hicks, right?
I have no idea.
The guy from Lemonade Mouth.
I have not seen him.
Oh, he's just very much. He's just a ginger.
I've never seen this man. He looks like someone. He looks like
he's gained some weight, so
he looks
different.
Like Diet Ed Sheeran.
He does. He looks like a baby.
Now, do you think they named this boy version of Disney Channel Disney XD because X is like a boy letter? Like if something's cool, it has like an X in it. It's supposed to be cool.
I guess so.
But is XD supposed to be like the emoticon?
I was thinking that.
I'd love to learn about the history of Disney XD because this is a weird...
No, I think it's like... Because they showed like sports stuff and like whatnot, like other... Isn't that where the games were? Or was that just...
No, that was on Disney Channel.
Was that just the regular ones?
Anyway, this has nothing to do with this. This was released in October of 2014. So, again, for context, Disney bought Star Wars in 2012, canceled Clone Wars, but then 2013, they did do like a half season in 2013 on Netflix. Mm-hmm. So this is now about a year after that. So about 2 years into the purchase. Mm-hmm. Were you aware of Star Wars Rebels at all?
Yes.
As a show?
The boy with the blue hair.
I could never tell if his hair was blue or if it was just the lighting. It is blue, but I'm saying for the longest time I thought it was just a stylistic black.
No.
No.
I remember seeing commercials for it, but like I obviously didn't pay attention to it because I was like 15 and not like super into Star Wars, and so that was kind of lame. But I do remember the boy with blue hair. I just know he exists.
Well, I guess it's like iconic's the wrong word, but like I'm sure it was in all the commercials and stuff. And
yeah,
they were really trying to make Rebels happen.
Yeah.
And to an extent they were successful because this has a very loyal fan base.
Did you watch it?
So notably, no, I did not watch this at all until 2019. Like I was like an adult by this point. The show had already wrapped.
Oh wow.
And because I had heard it's so good, it's even as good as the Clone Wars, sometimes even better. And I was like, shit, I love the Clone Wars.
What?
And I was like, this is fine, but it's not very it is not. The show has like the highs are really high. Mm-hmm. Like, but there's like maybe 5 moments that are like, oh, that's like actually really great. Mm-hmm. for like the Star Wars franchise, but like there's only 5 of them.
Yeah.
Over like 4 seasons. For me personally. And I also just, again, I was a teenager by the time this came. Like I wasn't really watching a lot of TV anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, Disney XD because of the X Games, right?
I don't think so. The X Games I don't think has anything to do with it. The X Games is like a skateboarding thing that's been around since like the 90s or the 2000s.
Yeah, didn't they team up?
I don't think so. I think you're just coming up with random things. You're like ChatGPT.
I'm trying to figure.
Because the whole concern with AI is that like you'll ask it stuff and sometimes it will what they call hallucinate and just because when you ask it a question, it's not going to say I don't know the answer. It's going to just come up with an answer. So that's what you're just saying stuff.
I'm just brainstorming potential influences.
We've moved on from it. We don't need to.
It just popped up in my head, and I just wanted to just briefly touch on it
Wouldn't
again.
Wouldn't it just be Disney X then?
No, because it's like 3D, but it's like XD,
right.
but it's 4D.
This is a tangent,
Anyways,
but I know we're not going to be able to move on until we find out what the origin of this is. No. We're
adult.
Oh no.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna have to take the time to find out.
Oh, so here we go. So well, I thought I found the answer because apparently there was something else that also had the name Disney XD, but it's for Disney Extreme Digital. I think it was like a web like content, but it was unrelated to this. And look, okay, so according to Gary Marsh, president of entertainment for Disney Channel Worldwide, XD does not even stand for anything. It was chosen simply because it looked cool.
Yeah.
Marsh notes that, quote, the letter X has many cool associations, and that the beauty of it is the audience can imbue it with all sorts of positive attributes. XD is also an emoticon for laughter. So literally everything I said is what it is.
Did they really do that? Oh my gosh. I thought that would be too silly. Like it'd be like rar.
No, well, the quote had ended. I was just reading the Wikipedia, so it's not like the guy said we did it because it's an emoticon.
No,
I'm sure that helped, right? Anyway, I did not watch this, and when I finally watched it, and I did watch it all the way through, it was mid.
It was mid.
It was mid.
I felt like we were just watching Aladdin the whole time.
Well, a lot of people compare Ezra Bridger to Aladdin.
Just like the whole...
He's like the street rat. Like, I think at one point they even call him a street rat. Or a loth rat.
Yeah, it was like a
loth rat, because he lives on Lothal.
Yeah, whatever, star rat.
So, and again, so the show overall, again, has like some really great moments. But usually they all come with bringing in other characters. Like, so spoiler alert, like they bring in Darth Maul. They bring in Ahsoka. And
so this is he's with the older people.
Who is he and who are the older people?
So
he's with the older people.
So the blue-haired boy is like in the same generation
as like Luke Skywalker.
As Luke Skywalker.
He's like basically like the same age almost, if not maybe a little bit older.
Yes.
Right? Because this takes place about 4 years before the original film.
Okay.
Right, so the seasons, they get closer and closer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you want to hear some background?
Yes, of course.
So, Star Wars Rebels, as the show in general, is an American 3D animated science fiction television series taking place in the Star Wars universe 14 years after Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith and progresses towards the events of the original Star Wars film. The series was announced in May of 2013, so maybe only 6 months after Disney bought Lucasfilm. I remember it was like late 2012. Because I was in high school, like the school year had started. Mm-hmm. It was like September or maybe even like later. Anyway, with a 1-hour special set to debut in the fall of 2014 before airing as a full series on Disney XD, the announcement came 2 months after the cancellation of Star Wars The Clone Wars. And the visual style of the series is inspired by the original Star Wars trilogy concept art by Ralph McQuarrie. So you kind of have like the really thin lightsabers, like it's...
Yeah. Wait.
Because it's not exactly the Clone Wars art style. It's not like the marionettes anymore.
That's so weird, though. Like...
That's so weird!
What... I guess what is the difference? Like, why...
Well, when you see characters that are in both, you'll see the difference.
No, I mean, I know stylistically. I'm saying, why would you cancel Star Wars The Clone Wars and then make a show Star Wars Rebels Spark of Rebellion? Like what is the narrative difference? What is the
Well...
target audience.
I don't know if we have info about this, but I would imagine one of the reasons you cancel the former and then greenlight the latter is Lucas was so intimately involved with the Clone Wars, and he was not going to be involved with the post-Disney buyout version of this, right? So I think there was a thinking on their part, like, let's just start fresh.
So it didn't mean that it was like failing.
No. If anything, the show is the best it had ever been. I can't speak to the ratings or anything, but and maybe that was a factor.
I think the George thing makes sense.
But and again, I really, really want us to watch, except obviously not for the show, but separately, we should watch the Clone Wars because again, it gets so good, so good. But again, because again, Dave Filoni is here again. Like, he's the showrunner again. So it kind of is almost like a Clone Wars Part 2.
I guess, yeah.
Certain characters come back.
I guess it's kind of like pejorative of me to like ask that, but like.
No, I think a lot of people, fans were thinking that as well.
To me, it seems like another Star Wars animated show, but it's like, well, what was wrong with the first one? You know?
Well. So, again, we're just at the precipice of the prequel revisionism, right? This is the concept where around this time, especially like once The Force Awakens comes out, both as a reaction to the sequel films, but also because the people who grew up with the prequels, aka my generation, came of age. Like, I was a freshman in college when The Force Awakens came out. You have these two factors converging that supports this idea that the prequels were actually good. And we've been wrong for the past, like, 20 years or 15 years, however long, right? Not just better than we thought, but, like, they're actually, like, objectively really, really good. And, like, Attack of the Clones, really, like, that's a bad movie. Come on. Phantom Menace is okay. Revenge of the Sith is great, but right? But this kind of just general set, right? But this is before that. So a big thing, a lot of people were really excited when Disney bought Lucasfilm because they thought they're going to fix Star Wars. Right? So again, we'll talk about this in the next episode when we talk about The Force Awakens. Disney's whole MO is if George Lucas is almost comically unconcerned with making fans and audiences happy, and he just wants to innovate and reinvent the wheel and do whatever he wants to do with the franchise to negative effect, as we saw with the reaction to the prequels. Disney, not being a single person, but being a very conservative, and by conservative I mean creatively conservative corporation. Yeah. They're like, we're going to make this movie by committee. We're going to make this feel as much like the original films as possible. Yeah. So this makes sense because it's like, let's move away from this prequel-y thing. Let's do something that's reminding people of the original films, particularly that first one. It's about the beginning of the rebellion. It's about a motley crew. It's not super mystical and mythological yet, but in this opening, it feels very much like that first film. It's just kind of like a fun, swashbuckly adventure. Yeah. So I think there's a bunch of reasons why you cancel Clone Wars and make this, but I think that might be the biggest one, is that they would rather lean into original trilogy era stuff as opposed to prequel trilogy. And now they're chasing prequel trilogy stuff because now people hate the sequels and they love the prequels. So now Disney keeps trying to make stuff that's like tangential to that, right? So no, I think
this
is a much bigger conversation for
a lot of sense. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And the
next one's going to be a very meaty episode because there's so much. It's so interesting.
The next one,
the Force Awakens.
Oh, Force Awakens.
And just talk about Disney's real foray to actually, because again, this isn't really a movie. So so that's gonna be the first real post Disney buyout Star Wars film.
Yes.
Right. So what did we think? I don't actually have that many notes because it's short, and also I feel like there's not a lot to talk about. Sorry if you're a big fan of this, but what did you think, Vivian?
Oh, yeah, I'm really sorry. I don't know. I thought it was okay. I thought it was exactly what it was. Like
it's like it does exactly what it says on the tin.
It is exactly an animated film from animated show film whatever from 2014. With that look and tone, story beat, whatever.
And again, like we talked about when we did the Clone Wars movie, is that because George Lucas is kind of single-minded in terms of like, I'm doing this because I want to do it, not because like the stock market is telling me to, or that this would be a good idea. So even though that movie was not received very well, they went forward and he was funding 5 seasons of this, right? Mm-hmm. So it had the room to grow and get better, and also you could put a lot of money. Like, he wanted it to be cutting edge for television animation. Disney has no such concerns, right? So I think the biggest kind of casualty here is, well, I guess it's really twofold. Definitely a cheaper budget. Like, it seems really dumb, but like,
Can
literally
you tell?
the aspect, yes, 100%. Well, especially if you compare this to the Clone Wars movie we watched.
Yeah.
This probably looks better. But that's also 6 years apart.
Yeah.
If you were to watch like one of the last episodes of the Clone Wars from like a year before this, and then watch this, the style, it just looks like there's not as much money put into it. You can tell like it doesn't look as cinematic, like even down to just like the aspect ratio is different. The Clone Wars, it's like very wide. Like even on a modern widescreen TV, still has black bars. Like it's still a wide image, whereas this is a lot more colorful, a lot more kind of a little sluggish in terms of the animation. And I think that segues into the other thing I wanted to say is that this is obviously for a much younger demographic. And not maybe much younger is wrong, but again, like not so much in the movie we watched, but the Clone Wars show like starts to really explore like, obviously it's not like Saving Private Ryan level, but like it explores like the moral ambiguities of war and like like it's a lot more heady than you would give it credit for. And the way I've always categorized it is that the Clone Wars, I would say their target demographic was like 10 to 13. This is more like 7 to 9, it feels like, right? It feels like not much younger, but like it feels like it's a different demographic. That it was like people in a boardroom going, like, what's our demo? I don't think George Lucas cared about the target demo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he was just making what he thought would be cool. Whereas this feels very much like it's designed in a very corporate way.
I think that's a good, like, insight or way to describe it, because even though I was older, like, we obviously still watch cartoons, right? But it doesn't, there's like something about it that like doesn't have the same appeal as like Avatar or, you know, like, I don't know.
Because that's like some of the best television, period, not just like children's animation. Like it's like some of the best
so it's like
stuff.
You know, like something about just like the trailers, you could just tell how it was like just like kind of kiddie, I suppose.
You know, have you ever heard someone I think the Beatles were doing an interview like when they were like, it was like the 4 of them earlier in their career, and a journalist,
when John wasn't dead.
Yes, but I'm saying, but it was all 4 of them.
Yeah,
this is like in their One Direction era is what I like to call it. Like before they got really experimental, they were just like a boy band playing like I wanna hold your hand, which I love. But anyway, they were at like some press conference and someone asked Paul. They asked Paul, do you think Ringo is the best drummer living, like the best drummer of all time? And Paul said he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. And they would routinely Paul knew how to play. So like sometimes if Paul didn't like how Ringo was doing it, like they would record it and Paul would do it, right? But anyway, that's how this kind of feels. Like we're talking about Avatar. Like Avatar is one of the greatest television shows. Period. This isn't even the best Star Wars show. Like you know what I mean? Like it's.
Not, I mean, like we know the shows, so like you can say that. But I mean, like even just like watching like the commercials or whatever, you know, just like.
It seems like it's targeted.
It looks like a children's show.
It looks like a children's show, and again, not because it's cartoony, but because it feels like not as much money's being pumped into it. It feels like a little lazy's the wrong word, but it feels like, again, if you're, it's hard to describe with words, but it's if you're watching it and then comparing it to something better, you'd be able to understand. Like you know what I mean? It's hard to describe in words, but another thing that makes this feel this way is like the writing, which feels like. Very over-explanatory because it's for 8-year-olds. Like,
my God.
Maybe I
talking to himself.
He's like, maybe I should care about other people. And like, obviously, that's me doing like a reductive distilling of like dialogue, but like that's not that far off of like some of the dialogue.
I really couldn't stand it. I really couldn't stand it.
Like the performances feel like they're playing to the back row. The performances feel like the writing feels that way. So when you're watching it, because when you're a kid, like sometimes you need to do that for children's entertainment because they're not going to pick up on the nuances. You have to make things very clear.
No, yeah, it's very helpful, and I think even for me in certain instances, right? Like I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect him to be feeling that, or whatever, or like that's like a nuanced way. Or like a different...
It's a lot of tell, not show. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it's like a different way than why I thought he was acting that way or why he was feeling that way or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's helpful. It's just like really fucking annoying.
It's annoying and also just disappointing because like there have been plenty of animated films that are for children that do like so much Pixar stuff. I know like Pixar, it's like almost not fair, but like even going back to the old like. The original Toy Story is like very sardonic.
How do they do that?
And like kind of goes over your head as a kid. And I'm not talking about like dirty jokes, but there are a few. But I'm talking just like in terms of like character interactions. Like you don't get the full
whole thing,
right?
Yeah.
So
how did they do that?
Because they just had good writers, right? Because they were just trying to make a really good movie. They weren't like, well, how is this gonna play for the kids? Like they just want to tell a really good story.
How can toys have an identity crisis that we can relate to?
I don't know. How can a fish?
A fish?
How can a fish have an identity crisis?
Nemo?
Yes. How do we,
Did he have an identity crisis?
No, but you're touching on this like we project because they're anthropomorphized.
No, I know.
They're basically people. They just happen to be fish.
No,
it just they're not really fish because they're going through things the fish don't go through.
No, I know. It just seems like something for like a toy. Like it would be a much simpler thing and not like so emotional as it is. Well, I think that
for Toy Story, the analogy was always parenthood. This
like,
idea that eventually your kid won't need you anymore. Mm-hmm. That was always the analogy. Or the because
like even though Nemo's a fish, like it's still like a family dynamic. It's like close.
So how do I relate to it?
It's like closer, So it's like we don't need to interpret so much, but like just like looking at the like little things on Woody's face.
What does this have to do with this movie?
Oh, I was just
this is all really interesting, but you're doing like full soundbite, like paragraph worthy insights that have nothing to do with this.
Well, never mind then.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just saying, like let's wait till we do Toy Story and then talk about it.
I just think it's interesting that they couldn't.
Can you tie it into this at all? Is there any way?
Hold on, that they could convey such complex emotions in a stale face, in a stagnant face, of a toy.
Whereas these people, they can't make me relate to actual human beings.
This one just felt like a ripoff of Aladdin. Like I felt like I was watching Aladdin. Like I'm not even gonna lie. Like I feel bad saying that, but like literally everything about it was just. I was like, oh, okay, Aladdin. Mm-hmm. Oh, more Aladdin. Okay.
And how do you feel about the new cast of characters? Because I do give this credit, unlike the Clone Wars, which is basically using characters we already know, save for some new additions like Captain Rex and Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. This is almost not almost, like it's entirely a new cast of characters that we've never seen before. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you felt about this. Did you have a favorite of the group? Zeb. It was Zeb.
Zeb! Because his name is Zeb. And
so points there.
Well, yeah, point blank. And I love Zebedee from the Bible. His two sons.
You just like him because of his name.
I just like.
You only like Zebedee. You couldn't name 5 things about Zebedee. You don't even know anything about this.
They literally say nothing about Zebedee except that his two sons leave.
Only fun fact.
And he's a fisherman.
The only thing I know about Zebedee is fun fact. Irving Kershner, who directed The Empire Strikes Back, was also an actor, and he played Zebedee in The Last Temptation of Christ, the Martin Scorsese movie.
Oh.
I remember he showed up, and I was like, Irving Kershner?
Oh, that's so weird.
Because he has a very distinct voice, like we talked about. He's like, so I...
But he was, like, in the movie? Interesting.
He was in the movie. He wasn't out of the movie. He was in the movie.
Well, so I guess it showed where, like, Jesus was, like
It's
recruiting them.
Yeah, or whatever.
In order to have Zebedee, a
yes.
descriptionless character to be.
Yes, I guess so.
In a Martin Scorsese film.
Okay, so you like Zebedee.
Yes, I like Zebedee, even though he's a little feisty sometimes. I do really like the character design, or just like the idea of the green lady.
Hera.
Yeah, I guess so. And I also like the main guy.
The adult man?
Yes.
Not Ezra. Okay, Kanan. Yeah.
Kanan. But
what about Sabine?
like, I like those characters. Oh yeah, well,
the Mandalorian.
I feel like she was like barely in it though.
And she actually is a Mandalorian. Unlike the Mandalorian show where he's like adopted by the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I gotta go on like a 30-second rant here.
Oh, are you gonna go on a soundbite too?
Yeah, actually, no, it's not. I'm
Oh.
actually not analyzing anything. I'm just ranting about something inconsequential, and it's gonna be about. It'll probably take less time than the time it's taken me to explain this to you. Because you were going on as if we're talking about Toy Story.
Oh. I don't know why I have an alarm set.
For 7 o'clock. It's 7! It really annoys me because we have this character, Boba Fett, who wears Mandalorian armor, but is not actually a Mandalorian.
Is he not?
No. Like, Jango just got the armor from somewhere.
Oh, Django wasn't?
No.
Oh.
So that was always annoying.
What?
And then when they announced Disney Plus, they were like, one of the big flagship shows is going to be the show called The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
About a bounty hunter. And I was like, okay, it's weird you're doing another bounty hunter that also wears Mandalorian armor. Why not just do Boba Fett? But okay. But then it's also a Mandalorian. It's also a bounty hunter wearing Mandalorian armor who is not actually by birth Mandalorian. So it's like, why are you putting yourself in such weird writing corners?
Yeah, he was.
Why are you? You're making it more complicated. Like, just either make him a Mandalorian or make him something else. The answer is because they wanted to make him a Mandalorian because the armor looks cool, and they want people who aren't paying attention to think maybe that's Boba Fett, and they watch the show and they realize it's not, but they don't care. Anyway, so see, that's different than what you were doing, because that was just a little annoying thing. But.
Wait, but so we find out that
My point is Sabine's an actual Mandalorian.
But we find out that Mandalorian are like a people, right?
But like a planet, Mandalore is like a planet.
Oh, it's not like a job or like
No, it's like Mandalorians come from Mandalore.
Oh, well then that's strange.
It annoys me, but at least Sabine is an actual Mandalorian.
Yes, and she has cool hair.
She's cool, and each season she gets like a different color.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's because she's like basically uses like explosive spray paint.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
That was cool, actually. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah. The best stuff in the show is the stuff where it gets to be like about the mythology. When it's about the swashbuckliness, it really feels like a kid's show and really falls flat.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I like these characters, but also I feel like they're kind of insufferable at sometimes because, like, the script is just so weird. Like, it's just, like, so...
Like, this, on paper, this could work really well,
like
but it's just
annoying and stereotypical. It's like
every cliche. And to be fair, we talked about the Clone Wars movie had that.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's like a whole thing.
It is just it's grating.
Yeah.
After a while. And again, like I said, the show is at its best when it's wrestling with more interesting stuff, but like I can't tell you how many episodes of the show are just about like you know how they were like rescuing the Wookiees? Mm-hmm. Like I can't tell you how many episodes are just like that. Like they're just doing something and then they do it and then it's over. Mm-hmm. And it's like you can do that if I enjoy the character dynamics, which I do not. And so the show is at its best when it's more mythological, like especially like with Kanan training Ezra and stuff, and again once they start bringing in like Darth Vader and Darth Maul and Ahsoka, they get like little cameos here and there and stuff. Actually, so cool they actually have this is actually James Earl Jones at this point. He was old as shit.
James.
But for his a couple appearances on the show, it was James Earl Jones, which is cool.
R.I.P. James.
They also introduced the Inquisitors, which are basically like Force users who have turned to the dark side, but they're not Sith, but like they basically work with Darth Vader to like go hunt and find any new Force user babies and like kill them essentially.
Yeah.
So that's something that starts here, and that ends up being a thing that shows up in the comics, in video games, in other shows, so, and that starts here. So that's kind of cool that it's that's one thing that this can kind of claim in terms of its impact on the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
I think the trivia for that is Inquisitors, and they explain this I think in one of the later seasons. The Inquisitors were guards at the Jedi Temple who defected when Anakin rolled up with the clones and helped Anakin the clone slaughter the Jedi.
They were like, we should be on this guy's side?
I guess maybe out of self-preservation, maybe because they were always evil, I don't know. But that's like the background. So they were like the Jedi Temple guards almost, or sentries or whatever. Right? Yeah, I literally don't have any other notes. I'm very underwhelmed. Like I'm underwhelmed by the show in general, but I thought maybe rewatching this, like I would have some fondness because like I spent time with these characters. If anything, I probably liked this less than I did probably when I first watched it. And I really have no intention of ever watching this again. Which sucks because again, those great moments of the show are really great. But is it worth watching a show where it's like 90% forgettable, 5% good, and 5% great? Like, I don't know if it's worth that. You know, that time investment. Because it's 4 seasons, maybe like 13 episodes. That's like 60 episodes. They're short. I mean, they're only 20 minutes or whatever, but they feel like a slog. So...
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. It was just like...
Would this make you want to watch the rest of the show? If you saw this when it premiered as a 2-part pilot, essentially, would you want to watch the next episode?
I guess so. But only because I was intrigued to see the continuation of with Kanan. You know.
Because it's like you set up some interesting pieces like maybe this will get better. Like let's see where you take this.
Yeah.
Kind of. So like giving them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. And kind of being like, okay, I don't really like this, but I'll watch it.
Because like it was like good. It was fine. I don't know. I feel weird because like should we... Because there's like the never-ending debate of like quote unquote like children's media, and so it's like it's good, right? And I feel like, oh yeah, it's good for like a kid's show, but then you're also like, oh well, it doesn't have to be babied in order to be a kid's show.
Yeah.
And
I think people who say that they're just coping because it's not very good and they have to go, well, it's for kids, blah, 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 blah. It's like, there are plenty of great kids shows that, like, adults love. And not just adults who watched it when they were kids. Like, adults at the time love it.
It just felt like a ripoff, right? It was like...
A ripoff?
Well, no, because it was like...
I want my money back!
Not a ripoff, but like, like a copy, right? It was like Aladdin, and then they were like, oh, well, they're doing good stuff, actually. They're not as bad as they seem. And it's like, okay, obviously stereotypical type of thing to happen, right? They're all, like, obviously we're gonna be with them, right? They're part of the gang, whatever. You know, so... Like,
they have to do things to make us like them.
Yeah, like, it was like, okay...
As opposed to just, like, liking them because, like, I like the character. It's like, of course we're gonna go... I mean, this makes sense because they're good guys. Like, they're rebels. Like, they're stealing this stuff not to
but I wasn't
make
even,
money,
like, surprised.
but they're doing it to...
But, like, I wasn't surprised, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, why... Well, I thought it was a little silly that people were stealing unknown crates.
Well, you never know what's inside.
I know, that's the thing. I think if you're going to steal something...
That's what people steal mail. You don't know what's inside.
I think if you're going to steal something, you should know what it is. Because what if there were just rubber bands in that crate?
You would have a good deal in rubber bands. You could sell them.
That's not helpful. But I think the people knew. The group.
I think they
the group knew, but
Ezra didn't.
Didn't.
He was just being a little
but
stinker.
It just seems, right, if these are not the people who are part of the Empire, or like, you know, whatever it's called at this point.
The Empire.
Okay. I know it's changed.
Well, as we know, Chancellor Palpatine declared, it is now an empire! Because I said it is, even though that doesn't make any sense.
You know, because they're not them. And so it's like, okay, well, who else could they be, right? And they're not going to put two evil opposing forces against this one little guy.
Diametrically opposed foes.
Yeah, so he's not going to have trouble with the Empire and with these guys, right? It's going to be like a changing type of relationship thing. It's like,
they're transformed.
It's like, even though like a little rough on the edges, or like you don't know what they're doing at first, it's kind of like Han, right? It's just like maybe better than Han, actually, because Han doesn't really do anything. But just like the like stiffness on the first approach, like, hey buddy, get out of here.
Buddy,
this is my crate.
Hey Bob, beat it. This is my turf. You want to hear some trivia?
Of course.
I only found 2 things. I was really hoping for some more.
Okay.
Kanan refers to Zeb as a rare hairless Wookiee. Zeb is based on early concept art for Chewbacca by Ralph McQuarrie.
Zeb!
So it's also like annoying because I feel like, and again, when we watch the Clone Wars show, you'll see it. You gotta give the prequels and all the ancillary media around it credit. That it was very visually inventive. Like, we were seeing things that we'd never seen in Star Wars before, in terms of types of aliens, types of planets. Whereas this feels like it's just like variations of like the same couple things. And anytime there's like a cool new thing, it's like, oh, it's based on concept art that a guy did like 50 years earlier. So it's like...
It all works, right? It's all of the same look and whatnot. I was just a little confused by Kanan's eyebrows.
Because they're like
pointy on both. They're like squarish,
I guess
but
they
also
are,
like kind of evil looking.
I don't know.
It's just like the way that they're arched. So I was like, this is strange, because they're like the good guys, but Anywho.
I have another piece of trivia.
Yes.
When aboard the Imperial transport after Chopper turns off the gravity and shots are fired by stormtroopers and the rebels, no one is catapulted backwards as they would be if shots were fired with no gravity. Not that it really matters. Remember we were talking the other day, like if you're just in space, like you can't swim like when you're in water. Like if you're just floating there.
Why?
Like unless you... Because swimming only happens because you're pushing against the water and pushing it behind you.
No, I know, but you can like do that just out of the water, like, right? You can like feel the wind, right?
Yeah, but in space there's no wind. It's a vacuum.
No, I'm saying you're creating the wind with your arms.
But you're not creating... But that's my point.
Are there not enough molecules or...
When you're creating wind, it's because you're moving the air around.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But there's no air in space.
Yeah, not air, but aren't there other elements?
Not really. It varies, but like let's say you're just in the middle of space.
Shit.
No. So but you could if you had like a gun, because theoretically that would create energy that would propel you.
Yes.
A certain way, right?
This is true. Yes.
Anyway, but of course this is Star Wars, and the rules of the Star Wars is not science fiction. It never was, and people wanting science accurate things to happen in Star Wars are dumb.
Next year people are going to the moon.
Really? I knew that we were trying to do that again, but I didn't know who and how soon. Who are we talking about? The United States?
It's been like 50 years.
I know the Indians are trying to get there, or the Chinese.
Hold on.
This is if you're listening to this.
You can speak.
Well, then you're not listening.
Okay. This is from NPR. A year from now, 4 astronauts will partake in the first human flight to the moon in over 50 years, traveling around it and back. The farthest distance humans have ever gone from Earth.
Are they going to land, though? Or are they just orbiting?
Oh, I thought they were going to land. No, I don't know.
Oh, man. Well, the only thing that would make me happy now...
That's still a lot, though.
The only thing that could make me happy now is hearing the critical reception for this.
Of course.
So, at the time... IGN and Variety in particular had strong praise for the pilot film Spark of Rebellion, with their only criticism being the appearance of the Wookiees in the film being cited as not all that impressive compared to the rest of the animation. I don't know what these people were
it was so weird.
Like, they looked like action figures.
Because
like their
the
fur
hair
didn't
didn't move.
Yeah.
Like, it was, like, all slicked back. Yeah.
It's very stiff. Like, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of like that in the Clone Wars. We talk about Anakin's hair almost looking like it's like he's like wooden. But that art style was designed to look like marionettes.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas this is just not great animation,
like
right?
Greasy or like a plastic.
Greasy?
Like plastic.
Well, as we established, they don't bathe. on Modern Reception on Letterboxd has a 3.46 out of 5. A little high for my taste. Do you want to hear some critical reception? And lots of the reviews were like, this movie's fine, but then it gets better. And I'm like, it does, but marginally. I wouldn't say it's like goes from being a 6 to a 9.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to hear some funny reviews?
Yes.
This really ties into what you were just saying. Russman writes, the Wookiees use a little too much hair gel.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying. And it's shiny, too. It's shiny and stiff.
Yeah. Ash McPeak writes, why is this on Letterboxd, LOL?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's not my job to... I did add the 2D 2003 Clone Wars to Letterboxd. But that's the only meddling I've done.
That's right.
And Mr. Intercourse writes, I can't believe Jabba the Hutt is the Emperor's nephew. That's crazy. Because then he's like, my name is Jabba the Hutt and I'm the Emperor's nephew. Remember when they're interrogating him?
Oh, I thought he was just being silly.
He is being... It's a joke!
Yeah.
In the movie, he's being interrogated. He's like, what's your name? And he says Jabba the Hutt. That's a joke.
I know.
And then later he's like, I'm the Emperor's nephew.
Yeah.
So Mr. Intercourse said, I can't believe... He put it together. If Jabba the Hutt is also saying he's the Emperor's nephew, that means Jabba the Hutt is the Emperor's nephew. Haha, that's funny. Obviously being sarcastic. But clearly the sarcasm flew over your head would be an understatement. It launched off of the planet over your head.
Well, I didn't realize that those two things were not connected.
I thought you would laugh at that.
So...
And you're just like, huh?
Because I just thought it would be a further description of the person he's already said, not like a made-up thing, right? So now that it's just like a non sequitur, it's like...
I think Mr. Intercourse just combined two non sequiturs into a third funny joke.
I know, but what I'm saying is that when Ezra said that, I thought that he was just expounding upon the Jabba the Hutt character. Not that...
Oh, you were saying like Jabba the Hutt is in fact the Emperor's nephew?
Why would he start describing someone else? I don't know.
Okay.
I guess that doesn't make any sense.
In terms of the legacy, the series ran for 4 seasons, like I said, and many characters introduced in the show went on to appear in other Star Wars media, including the Ahsoka show, like the live-action one. And I have not watched the Ahsoka show. Nor have I watched any live-action Star Wars TV shows since Mandalorian Season 2.
I watched like the first...
And I've heard literally none of it has been very good.
Yeah, I watched like the first 2 minutes and it was bored. So
what?
I turned it off. Ahsoka.
Oh.
Which is terrible because I was so excited. Remember we were at the movies?
And they were doing like the premiere of it, yeah.
Or Beau is Afraid, right? Or was it a different one?
It may have been a different movie.
But yeah, they were doing the press thing.
I don't know why you watched that, because I think you needed to have watched like... Now it's like the fucking MCU. I think you needed to have watched like the 3rd season of Mandalorian. Like, but even still, it wasn't... From what I've seen, it's like... I've seen clips. It looks like the most dull, uninteresting piece of filmed content possible. It's gray. It's digital. It's
I'm gonna be
gross.
honest. I think The Mandalorian is also dull. It is.
Oh yeah,
it is very keyed, very similarly.
I'm a Mandalorian truther.
Okay.
I always thought it was mid, and everyone still pretends. Well, the first season was great, but after that, I was like, no, the other seasons were just as mid. Like everything, it started mid, but everyone was just excited to see something new from Star Wars, but they gave it a pass.
It's like everything is keyed so dark that it all looks like a desolate wasteland.
Yeah, it all looks gray and ugly and shit. Okay, Viviana, do you have a favorite part of this?
Okay, I want to say Zeb, but I'm gonna say the exploding spray paint. I think that's innovative.
Okay. You already said you loved Zeb. Why was that so? You're like,
because I knew you would say it before I did and be right away.
That's okay. I do. I knew that was. I knew it was gonna be Zeb.
I was gonna be thwarted.
I really don't know. It's not even that I hate this movie. It's just I'm just like I don't.
Freddie
I feel,
Prinze Jr. That's your favorite.
Maybe.
You like that guy?
I would say Hera's kind of hot. Like they really yassify her face.
You have the hots for a green alien lady.
A Twi'lek? Sure.
A Twi'lek? A Twilight?
Twi'lek.
Twi'lek from Twilight.
Exactly. Okay, Viviana. 1 to 10. What are you giving this film?
I think I'll just give it a humble 6.
A very humble 6. Okay. Interesting.
And I was looking and...
Looking at your 6s.
That was a weird sound, sorry.
That sounded very poopy.
No, that was my mouth. Hold on.
See, the beauty of podcasts, I can be like, oh, Viviana, you just pooped everywhere! And no one would know, no one would be the wiser.
Okay. I was looking, and I have the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, and the Great Heap. And
Star Wars.
I think I'll put it above the Great Heap.
Mm-hmm. But below Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to think about that one.
It's literally, it's now or never.
What do you mean now or never?
There's no changing.
There's no turning back? What do you mean?
There's no turning back once it's set in stone. Because at that point, then we could just be changing the ranking every time. But the whole point is that we make it, and then we slot stuff in as we go. Are you literally looking up what Attack of the Clones was? I saw you highlighting it on the document.
Fuck off!
You don't remember? Like...
No, I do. I just want to make sure it's the one that I'm thinking about. If I remember correctly, it's
just said that. You're just like, I know what it is. I'm just looking it up to make sure it's the one. Like, that's the definition of not knowing what it is.
No, because I remember there was a boring one, and then I wanted to confirm. Anyways, yes, I'm going to put it below because I see this is the one where they're in the arena. Okay.
I think, going into this, I was going to give it a 6. I think I'm going to give it a 5.
What?
I think it's mediocre.
That mediocre, not even good mediocre.
Not even good mediocre.
Oh my frick.
It's just middle of the road. It just feels, like just kind of. What did you say? You said it was like it was what it was. Like it just
exactly is it.
Exactly
it
as
is
it was.
Exactly it is exactly what it is.
I'm gonna put this below. Kind of same thing I think exactly the same thing. I'm gonna put it below Attack of the Clones, but above Star Wars Droids: The Great Heap, just because at least this is at least trying to be good, whereas Star Wars Droids: The Great Heap is so cheap and bad.
Goes a bit all over the place.
Yeah, but whereas I'm putting under Attack of the Clones, while that's also mediocre, at least it has some really good parts. Whereas this is it's just consistently just mediocre. So at least with Attack of the Clones, I have a little bit of nostalgia for. It has Dexter Jettster. Enough said.
Like you would want to watch it.
I wouldn't mind
again before this.
I wouldn't mind watching Attack of the Clones
over this.
Again. Yeah. Okay, so that puts this film at your number 10 out of 13 films. This is your number 10, and this is my number 11. So kind of a similar placement.
Okay.
We don't have that many more films to go.
Really?
We have, I think, maybe 9 films. Oh, I guess that's still. It's like we're over the halfway point.
I thought Star Wars would be insufferable, but I guess that was just Batman.
Well, Batman, we watched almost 40 of them.
I know.
And most of them were direct to video. I'm still shocked we did all that. I think that we should be proud of ourselves for that.
I'm just saying. I thought Star Wars would be of a similar caliber. I thought there was more Star Wars content out in the universe, but apparently not.
There is, but just not stuff that would qualify for this show. Right? I mean, there's plenty of TV shows and games and comics and stuff, but we're not going to be able to cover that. We should be proud of ourselves for doing that.
Yes.
We should be proud for every episode.
I know Batman. I'm
an expert.
I'm an expert. Ask me anything. I love it. I'm here.
We should be proud of every episode that we complete, including this one, because that's it for this week's episode of Now That's What I Call a Franchise. Next week, we'll be watching the next film in the franchise, the 2015 film Star Wars The Force Awakens. Viviana, where can they find us?
You guys can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Franchise Podcast.
And if you have the time, leave a rating for us on Apple Podcasts, because apparently that helps. Oh, yawning.
Hold on, sorry. I needed some extra air. And if you have even more time, leave us a review, too.
And we know you have many podcasting options, and we thank you for choosing us. Peace out, guys.
Later, Dave.